It's Halloween, y'all, so let's talk about the scariest thing ever, the reading slump. Hi everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel, or thanks for joining us. If it's your first time here, I am super excited because today is Halloween. I think I made these earrings 4 years ago, and I've never had a chance to wear them because my holes closed over and then I had to get them re-pierced, and then I think the past couple years when I've moved up to university, I've just forgotten to bring them with me because they don't fit in, like, I was gonna say the jewelry box. It's an old David's tea box that I keep all my earrings in, but I remembered this year, so now I get to wear them. I also have skulls on my shirt, I have red pants, and I don't know if I can do this without falling out of my chair. I have Halloween socks. I have little pumpkins on the back. I've had them since I was 5. I don't know how they still fit. My mom said they were huge on me when they got them, but considering they're 15 years old and they haven't fallen apart yet, I'm convinced that they are the sisterhood of traveling pants of socks. So I'm just gonna chill here, have my breakfast with you guys, and we're just gonna chat about reading slumps and make them less scary. I think one of the things about reading slumps that bugs me is the fact that it's called a slump because it treats it as like a bad thing. Before we get into that, let's just talk about productivity, I guess, because without getting too like ranty or deep academic talks with you guys here, I do want to acknowledge the fact that, like, since we live within a capitalist society, we're being like trained since we are like kids that we have to be productive 24/7 and we have to be creating something 24/7, and I think as a result things like that get translated even into like hobbies and things that you like to enjoy. If you aren't reading 24/7 or if you aren't finishing the books that you're reading, then that means that you're inherently being unproductive and you're not contributing, and there's something negative about this. Essentially, like, the culture that capitalism has created means that we feel like we always need to be doing something 24/7. So to get back to what I was saying earlier, I think that's part of the reason that it's called the reading slump, is because it's treated like there's something inherently bad about like not being able to read or just not having the motivation or the guidance to read, even if it's like a book that you end up really loving but you just can't seem to sit down and focus or find that time to read. One of the things that I found over these past couple weeks is that I don't know if I necessarily agree with treating it as like a slump or a bad thing. I don't know how to pronounce their Instagram URL. It's like Ease Kits or something like that. But there's this booktuber, I'll try and I'll link it down below, who's been making all these reels on Instagram that I've been following, and he was talking about the way that like reading isn't a race or a competition. And I think a lot of times being a part of like the booktube community, even if I've only been here for a little bit, I feel this pressure to be able to keep up what I've been reading in order to like show like, look, I do read, I do take part, even though it's like you can be a part of the booktube community if you read like 2 books a month, like a book a month. Like, as long as you love books and you want to talk about them, you should be able to be here. And I think there's a lot of pressure sometimes to like be finishing the newest book like right when it comes out, or to be reading as many books as like humanly possible. Because I think for me what happened was I've been having a bit of a difficult time this month over the past couple weeks, and for me, when my mental health starts to go screwy, there's kind of like 2 stages. There's like the build up to it being like shit, which is where I normally like deep dive into books because I just need to be somewhere that is not here and distract myself from what is going on, which is also something that I need to work on, so actually address what's going on. And then kind of when I crash and burn, books help me if my anxiety is really high, but when my depression gets kind of shit, it's really hard for me to focus and to find that motivation to put into that. So I read a lot over reading week when I were at home, and then since I've come back to school, I haven't really been reading as much, and I've been really hard on myself about it because I feel like I should be getting through these books faster, especially the last 2 like books that I just read for leisure were like 150 pages each, which is normally something that I can finish in a day, if not 2 days, and they were taking me like 5 days to a week to get through them, despite the fact that like well, the one I didn't, but the last one that I read, I was really enjoying the story and I liked it and I wanted to keep reading it, but there was just no motivation or desire for me to like sit down and focus for a while and actually read that book. So that was frustrating to me. But I think the thing that I've kind of noticed, and when I was thinking about filming this video, is just because I wasn't reading didn't mean that like I wasn't being productive in other ways. I think for me, especially like this time around, my anxiety has been really bad. And for me, like having something tactile or something in my hands that I can hold is really, really helpful. And sometimes I find it hard to get into reading when I'm really anxious. Once I get into it and I'm fine, it can take me away from that anxiety, but it's hard to start. So I've been doing a lot of drawing because I've been doing the Inktober challenge, but on top of that, I've just been painting and drawing a lot for fun, for like personal reasons. And with my Instagram account, like I'm super excited because I actually have like a bulk of work built up that I want to post images of, but I've been waiting because I've been doing all these Inktober posts. And they're things that I love, things that I'm really excited to share with everyone and to have other people see. But I think I wasn't treating or valuing that in the same way. I think this is something else that just like within the capitalist productive, you always have to be on and doing something mindset that I really struggle with, especially with things that I love. When I have free time or when I have time to do like things for myself, I want to do all of it. Like I love reading, I love writing, I love making art, and I also love listening to music. I have all these podcasts built up that I want to be keeping track of. I do love watching movies and television, which I haven't been doing as much of lately, and just I want to be able to do all of it at once, which is not humanly possible. But it gets me really frustrated because then sometimes when I'm working on something, I'm like, oh, I could be doing all these other things, or I could be doing this, or I could be doing that. And I think we have to stop valuing our time by the things that we're not doing, instead look at valuing our time by the things that we are doing. This is something that I struggle with a lot because the past couple weeks I've really had to like step back from things that I've wanted to go to give myself time and space to like deal with the shitstorm that has been my brain lately. And it's really hard for me to like sit still and just recognize like I'm just watching a movie or I'm just doing this because this is what I need to do right now for my own well-being, and not getting wrapped up in the fact that like no, this has to be something that is productive, or like I should be doing homework or I should be doing this thing. Sometimes you just need to like be okay with giving yourself space to do that. And I think that's something too that I'm trying to reframe the way that I've looked at these past couple weeks. Instead of like looking at them as like a reading slump, just look at them as a time of like artistic creativity for me, where I've been able to create and draw a lot, and that just means that I don't have as much space, or my creative energy right now isn't being directed towards reading, and that's totally okay. I was going to talk a little bit about books that I haven't finished, like books that I DNF'd this year, but I didn't really know if I wanted to sit and go through them all. If that's something that you would want to see a video of, like leave me a comment down below. But I think mostly what I kind of wanted to talk about, like with not finishing books, is that something else too, is there's this like need or desire to like finish everything you do. Especially with me, I'm not a huge fan of not finishing books, especially if they're ones I bought, because it just feels incomplete, and then I get frustrated that I spent money on it if I didn't like it, but whatever, that's a whole other thing. And I think a lot of times there's this like, your reading doesn't matter if you don't finish the book, but it's like, no, I still learned a lot of lessons from those things, things that I don't like in literature, things that I do like, that I was able to recognize in those and still be like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I think I've been getting better at letting go of that, because I'm like, there are so many amazing books out there, and I am not going to be able to read all of them in my lifetime. So why am I spending time forcing myself to read books that I'm not enjoying? I think there's something to be said to like pushing yourself through a little bit, because I've had to read things for class that I hated, and then I went into the class discussion and I came out with like a whole newfound love and appreciation for it. And I think there's something to be said for that, but also like if you're 100, 150, maybe only 50 pages into a book and you're just like not vibing with it, and this is supposed to be something that you're doing in your leisure time for yourself, it is totally okay to walk away from that and be like, I'm done. This is not doing it for me right now. So I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to sit down and have a candid chat about that because I've had a lot of thoughts bouncing around in my brain around it. So I think that we need to look at it as a little less as a reading slump. It is frustrating when you do want to read and your body's like no, and you're like but books. But I think it's better to phrase it as a reading pause, I guess, or a reading break, and like instead of focusing on what you're not doing, focus on what taking that break from reading is giving you more time to do, even if that's just time to look after yourself. So, with that being said, I hope you all have a lovely and safe Halloween. It is still a pandemic, so take care of yourself. Don't go out there do anything crazy, but enjoy yourself. It's a full moon, it's a Saturday. But besides that, I will see you guys probably in a couple days when I end up doing my October wrap up for this month. And I think that's it. So I will link my Instagram, my Goodreads, and my blog down below. As always, if you want to follow them, there's new blog posts every Sunday. And like I've said, I got a lot of really cool stuff coming out on my art Instagram that I'm super excited about. And I suck at ending videos. I literally have no idea how to end them. So I guess I'm just gonna say happy Halloween.